Hello and welcome to another edition of the PHNX D-backs podcast right here on PHNX. My name is the mayor of PHNX, occasionally known as Derek Montilla, and I'm joined by the one and only Jesse Friedman, aka Thunderstick. His real name, though, is the vice mayor of PHNX, and we are here to bring you all sorts of Diamondbacks goodness. Jesse, how are you doing? Jesse's buying a house right now, by the way, while he's podcasting. I shouldn't pull the curtain back this much, but if you see Jesse all of a sudden start sweating and panicking, it's because he has to make a decision pretty quickly.
I have a lot of paperwork awaiting me after this ends. So yeah, your thoughts and prayers are appreciated. But yes, it's been an eventful day over here, Derek. Unfortunately, not so in the CBA negotiations,
No,
but
not at
we'll get
all.
there.
We'll absolutely get to that. But of course, first, we got to let you know this show is brought to you by the fine folks at the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Hoops fans can get down on their latest offer right now. New customers can bet just $1 using our code of PHNX and get $150 in free bets should whatever team you win do that thing. And the Suns are back in action tonight. So again, like I've suggested, maybe let's wait one or two games without Chris Paul to see how they're looking. But the Suns are a pretty solid bet for you to bet that $1 on the DraftKings Sportsbook. Like Jesse said, yes, unfortunately, not much progression today. Progress was actually called minimal. There are 4 days left for the MLB and the MLBPA to get this labor deal done before regular season games start being canceled. Basically, yeah, Jesse, we're not moving. Alex Wood had a really interesting tweet about it. He said it's fascinating. MLB setting a hard deadline to play a full season for Monday. They locked us out, had barely any contact for 2 months post lockout, have yet to make a single good faith offer to even initiate real conversations to get a deal done. Just make a real offer. And then a little shrugging emoji, which that part always makes me laugh about a serious conversation like this where it ends in a funny emoji. But yes, Jesse, from what Alex Wood describes, it's exactly how we've perceived it from the outside this entire time, right?
Pretty much. Yeah, the owners have not really given in, and the players haven't either. That's what Alex Wood is not saying here. The players have also
Sure.
held strong on at least most things, right?
Mhm.
It's not like the players are over here compromising a whole bunch, and the owners are just staying staunch where they are. Neither side is moving, and that's why this isn't going anywhere. The problem, as we've discussed before, is that the players have less reason to move than the owners do. The players have really been underpaid for a number of years, which, as crazy as that sounds to the common people that we
Right.
are,
Right.
um, the reality is that Major League Baseball revenues have risen a lot over the last couple of decades, and player salaries, at least as of in this past year, they actually were lower than they'd been the year prior.
Right.
So
Right.
that's the problem that's happening here. Neither side is budging, and the players don't really see much of a reason to in some ways.
And like you said, I think the weird thing about MLB is it does have this perception, like a lot of sports, that they're all paid very well. And don't get me wrong, to you, to I, to like regular fans that have normal jobs, yeah, getting paid, a $500,000 a year, or up to $1 million a year, that's a lot of money to us, right? But
Right.
compared to other sports, and compared to the percentage of players that get somewhere in that amount versus the ones that we hear about that make the big deals, there's a huge gap, right? The majority of MLB does make close to the minimum. And then you have
Right.
everybody else. Then you have the superstars of the league, which is maybe a little bit less than 30% of the league, right? But there are some things that these two sides agree on, and at least are closer on. Unfortunately, it's not the economics, right? And the labor
Yeah.
deal portion is the portion that's really they're still far apart on. They're still far apart on so many things, including minimum player salary, some of the pre-arbitration details, that bonus pool for pre-arbitration players, and most importantly, the competitive balance tax, which they still don't see eye to eye on. But they've agreed on the DH, and it seems like they've agreed on adding changing the draft to be a lottery to once again avoid one of my favorite seasons, Jesse, tank season. And we're going to talk a lot in this episode about getting rid of Tank SZN. But first, I took a little bit because we were a little bit kind of confused on how this would work or what the proposals were for the draft lottery from each side. So this is actually pretty interesting because in the owner proposal right now, which is for the first four picks, would be awarded by the lottery, but all non-playoff teams would be eligible for the lottery. So it would be like the NBA, where if you don't make the playoffs, you're eligible for the lottery. Then based on where you finish, you get an increased chance percentage wise of getting the number one overall pick. In the owner proposal, like I said, the four picks would be awarded by lottery. Then it would go in reverse standings order from there, starting at pick 4. In the player proposal, the first 7 picks would be awarded by lottery. And again, reverse standing orders would follow. But here's what's interesting is the way they want to avoid, like, again, an Astros situation where they just tank and get a really good draft pick one way or another, even if it's not the number 1 pick for a number of years. In the owner proposal, a team cannot get a top 3 pick more than 2 years in a row. The player proposal bounces teams from the lottery, but it's different. It's based on market size. Large market teams, and it's shit like this that makes me go, what are the fucking players doing? Maybe if some of their shit and their negotiation tactic is too complicated like this, like you're dealing with owners that don't want stuff to be overly complicated like this with all these ins and outs. But okay, so in the player proposal, large market teams that finish in the bottom 8 based on, or bottom 7 based on winning percentage in 2 straight seasons, or in the bottom 12 in 3 straight seasons, can't participate in the lottery at all. Small market teams that finish in the bottom 4 in the previous 2 seasons, or in the bottom 8 in 3 years, are ineligible for the lottery. I throw my hands up at all of this because, again, why are we overcomplicating it this much? At least in the owner's proposal, it seems a little bit more clear cut and a little bit easier. Like, again, you can't get a top pick more than 2 years in a row, a top 3 pick. That seems pretty fair, or even a top 4 pick or whatever they end up going with. I know this has changed quite a bit. I don't even know where they're currently at with the number of picks. This seems imminent, though, just like the DH. This is going to happen. I think the only thing that I really question now is, when is this going to happen? And is this going to impact the D-backs getting the 2nd overall draft pick in essentially the 2023 draft, or 2022 draft is what it'll be.
It'll be interesting to see. And I think we've talked before about how we figure that however this goes down, it won't impact the draft this year. But I also don't think there's any, rules saying that it couldn't.
Right.
So we're not really protected in any way from that. And it also could be a good thing, right? It also, on the flip side, could mean instead of the number 2 overall pick, maybe the Diamondbacks have a shot at getting the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
But either way, I mean, I wouldn't fault the players too much for making things complicated. There are a number of baseball, things that have been in the CBA for a long time that I don't think any of us fully understand, that have come from both sides, right? I mean, it's just complicated. There's a reason that most of the baseball world doesn't give a crap about 90% of this stuff, because it like most casual baseball fans don't care about the 22% rule for super 2s in entering arbitration early. Like those kinds of things are so abstract, most people just don't really care. So
I can't tell you how often, and this is no offense to anybody, because I still don't know it very well, but just what pre-arbitration means, what arbitration means, like,
sure, we throw around these words as if they're like, super easy to understand.
Universal terms, right? Yeah, it's like everything with baseball seems to be just a step more complicated. Again, the process for you to go from being a young gifted player to playing on a team and starting on much more complicated in baseball than any other sport. Money, your contracts, when you can make money, all of that, and again, baseball does have, at least for a lot of these guys, the ability for them to have a longer career than, say, like football, because of the nature of the game. But it still sucks that essentially what they're trying to fight for here is guys have to get so far into their career and still be achieving, success at a high level in order for them to get that big payday that a lot of people refer to after they get out of their contract and get into a point where they can start making that big money. At this point, they're just trying to fight for, some of the better players in the league that are pre-arbitration to have that stuff. And especially with the lottery, right? A lot of the things that they're trying to do involves just trying to prevent teams from tanking, especially considering that we've seen kind of a track record now for tanking working, and tanking not just working to like get a single good player like in other sports where you could get a one player. It's the need to tank and essentially pick up enough players over a few years of being bad enough where you have this all-star lineup of young players that you can develop and do like what the Astros did and some other teams have. But we'll get to my idea next for that. I do want to remind you guys, if you haven't signed up already, to go over to gophnx.com, sign up to become an annual member. You'll get your you'll get your free t-shirt, first free t-shirt over at phnxlocker.com. Pick out any t-shirt you want, no pressure. But if you don't get the Diamondbacks one, I think Saul Bookman is going to relegate us to a different network. I don't know how it works, but we'll talk all about relegation here soon enough. But please make sure you support the show any way you can. Get up one of those sticker packs, whatever you want, as your additional purchase to your free t-shirt by getting a membership over at gophnx.com. If you're not interested in the annual membership, please check out the month-to-month option. You'll get your first month for just 50 cents. Hopefully you enjoy what you see and you decide to stick around. Plenty of content. Jesse and I have a couple of pieces up there this week. I'll have some more from Diamondbacks minor league minicamp tomorrow, as well as Jesse. I think you have a piece coming up too at the end of this week. If purchasing a home doesn't get in the way of that, but the good news is Jesse purchasing a home means it's here in Phoenix, Arizona, and it's bringing him here. And that's our ultimate goal, is to get Jesse home, so that way he can bring you even more content from his beautiful new home here in Phoenix. And we can give you guys everything that you're hoping for out of your local sports coverage. So go over to GoPHNX.
You're just making the announcement. Just random 13-minute mark on a Thursday in February.
What's the announcement, that you're coming home?
Well, I guess so. I mean, we've kind of alluded to that in the past, but
I didn't know that was a big deal. Is that a big deal? Do we not? I can't edit it out. This is live now, Jesse, but I guess that's it. The cat's out of the bag.
I wouldn't
Jesse
have
is
it
eventually coming home. He's not going to stay in Seattle forever.
I wouldn't have it any other way, Derek. That way I don't have to deal with it. It's already out there. People already know.
I thought you're like a Larry Fitzgerald, right? Like you don't want you don't want all this attention. You just want to make your announcement, move along in life. So
right.
Jesse coming back home eventually to Phoenix whenever he signs paperwork and gets this stuff figured out. But again, I don't know where we were, but you can get announcements like this in our members only Discord. I promise. Future announcement on Jesse's housing will be on the members only Discord. And again, you can also get members only discounts over at the phnxlocker.com by signing up at GoPHNX now. Sorry, Jesse, for just blurting that out.
No. I mean, we've kind of said it already, right? Like we've already alluded.
Well, I said you're going to be at my deathbed when I die. It's going to be my
right.
daughter.
It was kind of assumed.
Yeah,
so.
right. And Jesse. And I promise, no matter how much you fail in life, I won't relegate you, even though that's my idea for ending tank season, Jesse. Yes, as tank season wants to fade out, not exist anymore. There's all sorts of ideas, and I have a ridiculous one. I think we need to institute relegation. And if you're not familiar with relegation, that's something that they do over in the European like football leagues, where teams, if you haven't watched Ted Lasso, go watch Ted Lasso. Just go watch Ted Lasso. I shouldn't have to explain.
I haven't watched Ted Lasso.
Go watch Ted Lasso right now, both seasons, and then get back to me with notes. Teams in certain European leagues, they actually play for their ability to stay in like the Premier League or a higher league. And at this point, I just think that when teams in Major League Baseball, since we're getting all crazy with this lottery draft and we're talking about if you lose too many seasons or if you have a top pick in the top 3, you don't get to do it anymore. Forget that. You lose, you're the worst in baseball for consecutive seasons, you get relegated to AAA. That's my idea. Relegation to AAA. This is exciting, Jesse. I'm going to tell you why. Because the teams with the worst overall record, let's say maybe not one season. Let's say maybe like 3 seasons, right? If you have the worst record in your league for 3 consecutive seasons, or maybe in your division,
Sure.
you're gone,
Sure.
right? Adversely, that means that teams from AAA would then get promoted to Major League Baseball. Jesse, how exciting is that? That we could see the Durham Bulls as a Major League Baseball team, or the Everett Aqua Sox, or even our very own Reno Aces as a Major League Baseball team.
I'm not opposed to it. I think that would be kind of interesting. I don't think they'd be very good. But
hey, that's for them to decide. We could because here's the thing is, and I didn't even know AAA did this, but AAA has a national championship game, a single game that they play where the winner of their leagues play each other, right?
Yeah.
And so then you have one decisive victor of everything. And for instance, they haven't had it due to the pandemic in 2020, and then 2021 they didn't have it. The Sacramento River Cats are the current AAA champs from 2019.
So you would bring them.
The
up to
Sacramento
big leagues?
River Cats would
Okay.
now be a Major League Baseball team until they proved to be terrible and got relegated back down
And then,
to the AAA.
so that means that there's a Major League team that you would also send down in
Correct.
their place.
Correct. Just
Okay.
like we do with players. Just the whole team
Okay.
is going to go. All of you.
Would it be
everybody.
like we do with players, where, you know, on Tuesday you call them up and then Wednesday you send them down, and then
Yeah, maybe. Don't unpack your bag yet, Orioles, is what I'm saying.
You're just sending entire franchises.
Yeah, just the entire franchise down. I don't care how big their
Nice.
stadium is. I don't care how full it is. I don't care anything. Relegation, Jesse. Relegation. That's how we'll end tanking. Hey, I'm just saying, if you honestly, what an embarrassment it would be as a major league team, right? And we're not saying it has to happen all the time.
Fair.
Maybe we set it up again. It's a consecutive loss thing. But if you can manage to not be in the bottom, that gives you something to fight for towards the end of the season. It sounds like a joke, but I mean, at times there is no consequence for a team being bad in organized sports in North America. They can just be bad forever, you know, to the point where those fans of that city, a lot of people who pick their teams geographically, have to just deal with that. I've felt that way at times about certain Arizona sports, you know, our situations, how bad it's been at times, how unfair it is, especially when like the Diamondbacks are in the National League West. And I will say the one thing that's most heartbreaking is the attendance of every other ballpark in the National League West. There is not a single team that draws as poorly as the Arizona Diamondbacks. And that part is heartbreaking, because when they go on the road to other stadiums, they're just packed. It doesn't matter. And it's them playing the Diamondbacks. So it's not the opposing team being the draw. It's just them having a lot of people in their stadiums.
So are you saying, like, okay, so the Diamondbacks, hypothetically, let's say they go down, they're a AAA team, and then they get replaced by a AAA team.
That's
maybe
right.
It's the River Cats, or I guess maybe it's the Aces. I don't know.
Sure.
Do you think, this is like a sad but also somewhat genuine question, would the Diamondbacks attendance figures noticeably change if they had a AAA team? Like if they had like a world-class AAA team, because I don't know, like, do Diamondbacks fans come to the games because they want to see Josh Van Meter play, because they want to see Josh Rojas play, because they want to see like there are some good players, right? The Diamondbacks have Zach Allen, they have Ketel Marte, they have some genuinely good players. I don't know.
It's a genuinely good question, because yes, we know that opposing fans come to see their team, right? But like you said, how many Diamondbacks fans come out because tonight they're playing Kershaw and the Dodgers, and they also want to see that person, whatever the superstar that's on the other team,
they
right?
often draw because of the opponent, right? And that Diamondbacks kind of straight up admit that. Like, they advertise like, oh, the Cubs are coming in town this weekend.
They do heavily advertise, especially those markets, the Cubs, the Dodgers, the Giants, you know, maybe even the Cardinals, which had a pretty good fan presence on one of the series I was at.
Which I think they're doing them. Like, it's one thing to do it for the Cubs, but it's another thing to do it for the Dodgers, where like you're literally just filling the stadium with Dodger fans by trying to get the word out there. But like, maybe we just shouldn't tell people when the Dodgers are in town. Maybe they just shouldn't advertise those games so much, because we've all been there, right? At times it feels like there's more support for the opposing team than there is for the
It's
Diamondbacks.
a
So
fact. It's not
yeah,
that it feels like it. It is
no, it
100%
is.
what's going on.
Yeah.
And you're right, though. I guess the advertising is a bit different. Like the Cubs coming to town sincerely is like, hey, Cubs fans, come to Chase Field. Like that's almost what it feels like. But the Dodgers, it's always like beat LA, wink. Like it's kind of like that.
Yeah,
Like
right.
beat LA, but by the way, Dodgers fan, just Dodgers are in town this weekend. Like, it's still again, it's still the thing about the opposing team drawing. And if they were a AAA team and they're playing against AAA teams and not major league teams, what happens then? Right? Yeah, I mean that's a great question, and I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. That's a scary question. Maybe I'm proposing things that I shouldn't be proposing. Is maybe what I'm thinking here.
Be careful what you wish for.
Derek
That's what
was
that's what we're
wrong.
saying.
I don't know, but anyway, I'll tell you this much: you won't be relegated on the DraftKings Sportsbook app, no matter how much you win or how much you lose. Johnny Venerable, the normally solid JV, has been on an ice cold streak on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. I'm not one to talk. Whenever I give out actual picks myself, I tend to completely botch it on this show. However, I will say that my track record of actually betting on these events is very, very good. So I'm not sad about it.
So you're admitting that sometimes when you make recommendations, you don't actually put your own money on it.
That is absolutely what I'm saying, Jesse. I'm absolutely saying that. And
okay, so from now on, every time you give us a DK pick of the week, I'm gonna have to get the truth from you, Derek. I'm gonna have to ask you, are you actually putting your own money on this? Do you actually believe in it enough to take that risk? Or are you just hoping that our poor listeners are going to fall for whatever madness you propose for them to do?
That's fair. It's fair. It's a fair question. It's a fair you're calling me out and or calling me up, as Monty
Williams you
would
up.
say.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's what we say around here.
But you're right. I will say that the last couple I've placed my bet on that I brought onto the show have been winners. So that's been I'm not mad about that. I am still mad about Steph Curry MVP and not confirming my bet. So again, make sure you're not a dummy like me when you're actually using the app. If your picks are good, make sure user error doesn't get involved like with me. But of course, new fans right now can get a great offer over at the DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers can bet just $1 on any team. Use our code of PHNX, and you will get $150 in free bets if your team wins. It's that simple. Sportsbook customers can also bet on same game parlays. Of course, existing customers like myself, like some of you, combine multiple bets from the same game for a bigger payout. The more legs you add, the more money you win. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code of PHNX. Bet just $1 on any NBA team and get $150 in free bets if they win. That's promo code PHNX at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. 21 and over only. Arizona only. Gambling problem? Dial 1-800-NEXT STEP. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And yes, Jesse, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. And I am back on the voting. I'm back on the betting on the Arizona Coyotes to lose.
Okay.
I know
that one we can all
get behind. They're playing the Vegas Golden Knights tomorrow night, or actually tonight. Again, sorry for pulling the curtain back. We're recording on Thursday, but this is Friday's show, of course. And
this is a live show. It's a live
show. It's all sorts of things. But if you're listening to us right now, get down on it before tonight's game. I don't know. The Coyotes, I've heard some things about what's been going on with them. They seem to be actively trading away players that are good or have value to make their team even worse than they've already been here at the trade deadline.
They're in full blown tank season from what I can tell.
Their tank season is a whole other level of tank season. You can say what you want about the Arizona Diamondbacks, but they legitimately were not trying as hard as this organization is trying to lose. Not to mention, everybody's getting their jokes in on the new stadium over at ASU, sharing that facility with ASU, despite the fact that I think it's going to be an incredible
looks
experience.
really cool. Yeah,
that's what I think. I mean, again, I know that the arena that they play in isn't very big, but it's much bigger than this place. Like, it seats many more people.
But college
I mean,
is just a different market than the NHL. So,
well, I'll tell you this much though, that it's going to be sold out every single game, and that's one difference that
there is something
claim.
to be said for that. As people who cover a baseball team whose stadium has a capacity that is probably twice as big as maybe it should be, there's something to be said for an intimate environment where the house is packed every night, right? So, and maybe, I mean, what is it, like 5,000 or something? Like, it's pretty,
it's something
I think
like
it's
that.
pretty low. That's pretty low. That's pretty low. But I don't know, what did the Coyotes draw on an average night? I really don't know that off the top of my head.
I mean, I've been at games. I don't know how many are empty seats for like season ticket holders and stuff, but it's been pretty empty. I mean, I'd say less than 50% capacity. But I also don't. I mean, I won't lie. I tend to go to cheaper games because they offer deals. Right, it's something that we've been kind of imploring the D-backs to do as far as this entire situation they're going through. Just do something to fill the house up. I know, like you said, it's the stadium. Chase Field, it's not getting reduced or changed anytime soon. So really, at the end of the day, I would think that based on making money off of parking, making money off of concessions and other things, would be worth $5, $10 tickets for the upper deck when the team was as bad as it was last year. I don't think I saw much of that. I saw a few cheap ticket promotions, but not nearly as much as we've seen in the past. And the team was much better in the past than they were last season.
It was so I, as of a few years ago, if I would go to a Diamondbacks game as a fan, of course, and I needed to buy a ticket, I would use StubHub or SeatGeek or, one of those third-party apps. I basically never bought tickets directly from the team just because usually those apps were cheaper, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure some of our listeners have probably done the same thing, right? If you go to Ticketmaster.com, right, you're gonna buy a $30 ticket, you're gonna pay $27 in fees, and it's frustrating, right? Just the way that works. So yeah, third-party apps were always the way to go for me. But last season, it was not the same. You just could not find the same caliber of deals on those apps as you've been able to find in the past. And I don't know exactly what the cause was for that. Why, because demand was so low, you would figure that the prices would follow and the prices would decrease. But that just didn't really happen on those apps from what I saw last year.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is about scalpers and such buying season tickets or people that have season ticket holders, not saying just scalpers, but their tickets are automatically cheaper. And then in a lot of cases, especially if you're talking day of or something like that for a not really that not super desirable series to watch, they're just looking to unload them for anything that they can get so that they don't, take a complete loss on that game and that night. I don't know. I've actually bought tickets from scalpers right out front, that sell tickets right there. I've done a lot of things to try my best to. I know. By the way, I'm going to give you a pro tip. If you ever buy tickets from a scalper, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't, but if you do, make the scalper walk you up to the door. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, make sure it's an actual ticket.
It's hey, I'm not lying, man. That's the best piece of advice I ever learned about buying tickets from someone who you don't know and might not trust is just have that person walk you up to the door. If they're real tickets, they shouldn't have a problem doing that. So just pro tip there. But again, don't buy tickets from scalpers. I don't know what I'm telling you. Don't listen to me. I'm a degenerate. But of course, listen to Jesse. He's a 5-star man. If you're listening to us right now on your favorite audio podcasting app, leave us a 5-star review for this 5-star man. He deserves it. Also, subscribe to us on our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already, and sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss any of the content from the PHNX team. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at cap_caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. Our show is at PHNX_DBacks, but of course, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports. And that's on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We thank you guys again. We hope we don't get relegated. We hope you don't get relegated. We hope all of us can stay up, but watch your ass, because, there needs to be consequences. That's all I'm saying. We thank you guys so much for tuning in. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when there's consequences.